Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the College Football Game Day Show. It is week 13 here. Unlucky week 13, but luckily you get to see our beautiful faces yet again. My name is Brian. Alongside me, Tom Scavetta on my right, Andy Hopper on my left. Had to switch it up there because I threw up the wrong hand, and it mirrored the image there. But we got some good action for you on the cards. We got our weekly news segments, obviously, and then we'll run you through our parlays and the games that you should be watching this week. But first up, we will jump right into the weekly recap for Week 12. Andy, I'll throw it over to you. What were you watching there in Week 12?
Oh man, I got absolutely shit-faced at the Illinois game. Last home game of the year for the Illini. They took down Michigan State at home, 38-16. Josh McCray found the end zone, not one, not two, three times for the Illini. He has been a huge help for this offense, filling in for Caden Fagan this year, and they're going to need him down the stretch, especially this weekend coming up against Rutgers. Pat Bryant scored another touchdown and went for over 100 yards. Zachary Franklin found the end zone. Luke Altmaier really looked like he was very comfortable, and Illinois cruised to that win against Michigan State. That was the big one for me. By the time I got home, fellas, I think I fell asleep by 8:30 on Saturday. But before I passed out, I was kind of checking out a little bit of the Wisconsin and Oregon game. How about the Badgers giving the Ducks everything they could handle? And then Washington State, I picked them to cover by 2 touchdowns. They got upset by New Mexico. So it was not a very good Saturday for my picks, boys, but a lot of fun games.
There were a lot of fun games indeed. Tom, what were you watching in Week 12?
Oregon surviving Wisconsin on the road. Gabriel did not look great. Kansas upsetting BYU. They've been playing spoiler the last couple weeks. The Dogs are back, guys. Georgia beating Tennessee 31-17, and Carson Beck is back. 2 touchdown passes, 347 yards through the air. Oscar Delp with 2 scores. The Dogs had 5 sacks and gave up none, so they dominated the trenches in this game against the Vols. Florida upsetting LSU 27-16. Brian Kelly is a disaster at 6-4. It is a shame how he treated Chris Hilton on the sideline, getting up in his face when he was going up for a ball. Again, I'm not the coach. I'm not on the team. I don't know what the situation is, but we saw this at Notre Dame. He did it for years. It was tolerated, but Notre Dame was winning games. LSU right now is not winning games. So, yeah, it doesn't work if you're not winning. I hate to say it. The Gators had 7 sacks. Nussmeier struggled. Brian Kelly potentially on the hot seat here, boys. I don't know. He might be a little outdated. His ways might be outdated. And then New Mexico, stunning Wazoo. John Mateer had a phenomenal game. He's been great all year, but they could not stop the run, boys. The Lobos had 360 rushing yards and 4 scores. Devon Dampier nearly had 203 on the ground. New Mexico, Wazoo, I believe they're out of the top 25 now after that loss. So see you later.
They are indeed. Obviously the Oregon one had that on the TV. I mean, 2 of the teams in the top 4 actually had fairly close games. Them beating Wisconsin by 3, and then Texas. I wouldn't say they struggled, but it was definitely a little too close for comfort there. Only beating an okay Arkansas team by 10 points. Obviously, like you said, Kansas taking down BYU. Top 6, they were riding pretty, and now after this week's game, which we'll talk about a little later, if they lose again this week, they could go from looking at a pretty nice round 1 game to just being completely out of the playoffs. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. And then the last one here that you guys didn't mention that I'll throw in here, South Carolina taking down Missouri. We talked about it. They've been trending upwards, and they just continue to look better and better each week. So, unfortunately, beginning of the season wasn't great for them. So I don't see. I mean, a lot would need to happen, I feel like, for them to make their way into the playoff. But it's good to see that they've recovered and that they've been an exciting team to watch these last few weeks. That'll bring us into our weekly news segment here. We're going to do 4th and short. This went terribly for all of us last time. The goal here is to get the answers off within a college football play clock. That is 40 seconds. But we are 3 chatty Cathys here, and we failed pretty miserably last time. But second time might be the charm here. So let's see how this one goes. First up, we have UMass. Recently fired UMass head coach Don Brown's wife highlighted the insane NIL differences between UMass and their opponents this year. My question here is, should these small fish schools give a little bit of extra leeway to the coaches, if they're not willing to pay up for recruits? And for anyone wondering about the numbers that she laid out there, the combination that their opponents had was a combined 48 $6.8 million. How much does UMass give to their players, you ask? They have a budget of $36,000 in their NIL coffers. So, Andy, you're first up here on the board. Should these small fish schools give a little bit of a longer leash to these coaches when you're, barely even funding the cost of like a Nissan, brand new Nissan, for your entire team here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's yes. You got to give. You just have to be realistic, especially if you're UMass. You haven't been good since you moved over to, the FBS. The coach you just fired had really good success when you guys were in the FCS. Got you to number 2. He left. Your next guy was like 2-34 as an FBS independent. Let's be realistic. You're in the Northeast, Tom. I'm sorry, you're in the Northeast. It's not the biggest hotbed of football talent. The fan base at UMass doesn't give a shit about football because what if they have had to give a shit about? So yeah, there has to be a bigger leash, especially when you're throwing out 36 grand in this era of college football. It's just not going to work.
All right, Tom, thoughts?
Yeah, so that ratio number is not great. The coaches should be given much extra leeway. But this article that I read is making out UMass to be a decent program. They're not. They've covered more than I thought they would this year. Like, I went against them a couple times. If you guys know, I went against them a week or two ago with Liberty and UMass covered.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of tore up a bet there. But yeah, look, this is a dumpster fire program. There's nothing to be satisfied with the Minutemen. Yeah, they're on minute time, to be honest with you, as a Division I program. It's definitely scary. And yeah, you can give them all the time you want. They're not going anywhere. 45 seconds.
We're getting close. It's all right. It's just the first one. I'm going to add a story to the end of mine, which is probably going to put me over, but I'll try to go quickly. My answer here is that, yes, you absolutely need to give your coach leeway if you're unwilling to give more than $36,000 for an entire squad of it's like 105 football scholarships you get, I believe. So yeah, that on a per player basis, it's already so small. I agree with what Andy said though, that this is the Northeast. Football is not the top talent hotbed there. There's a lot of soccer, lacrosse, all that. And my story here, if I can wrap this up in about 12 seconds. Visiting friends at FSU, we were talking shit about UMass, who that year was also bad. Surprise, surprise. And we were talking about how bad their defense was. One of the girls visiting that weekend was from LSU, so I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but I knew her father was a football coach. Turns out her father was the DC of UMass, so we're just talking shit right in her face about her own dad's production. So she was nice about it, but yeah, I agree. Across the board, they need to give longer leashes to coaches in this situation. Next up, we have Kentucky. Saturday's game will be the farthest west that Kentucky has ever traveled to play a football game. So my question here is, because this sounds a little ridiculous, should teams sort of be forced to commingle more with each other to stop them from, purposely avoiding certain teams, certain areas, conferences going forward? I know you can't force teams to do it, but should there be something on the books here to say, hey, start opening up your schedule and stop filling it with cupcakes? Andy?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this one. I'm not sure you can really force a team to put somebody on the schedule. I think it'll all come down to, how we see this committee seed this first 12-team playoff, right? And then from there, who knows? Next year it'll probably be 14 teams, and they'll all be from the SEC because the SEC can do no wrong. So, anytime you can only play 8 conference games and then schedule Mercer in week fucking 13, you have to do it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any encouragement for these teams to not avoid certain conferences and certain teams they don't want to play, especially if they think they'll go out there and lose and take them out of college football playoff contention. Not that Kentucky is in it, but you catch my drift.
Kentucky catches strays there. Tom, what are your thoughts here?
Well, look, no, they should not be forced, but teams should be able to prioritize what's best for the university, and sometimes that could be expanding upon your horizons. So I do think there is some truth to what you were saying, Brian. We also got to remember, these are college kids. These are not professionals. I know with the NIL money now and everything, there's a lot going on. But remember, some of these guys on these rosters are not scholarship players, so all this traveling and stuff for them, things get complicated. Things get complex. You don't want to turn this into the NFL. It feels like it's trending that way, but yeah, look, it is an astonishing stat to see that Kentucky has never gone further west than that. So, yeah, maybe that's a conversation for Kentucky to have if that's something they're interested in doing. Other than that, I have no further thoughts.
All right. Yeah, for me, I mean, I agree. No one will. I guess force was maybe the wrong word to use for this question, but I do think teams at least need to open it up somewhat. Especially, I know it's expanded to 12 teams, but we're about to see, possibly this week, teams take a second loss that could just completely annihilate them from the playoff, and a lot of that has to do with strength of schedule. So, limiting the games you want to play to 1/3 of the country is probably going to hurt you in the long run. The stat is really ridiculous because you know I mean, anyone that's seen a map knows that these states aren't far, but when you actually look up Lexington to Austin, Texas, it's 972 miles. That's really not that far, especially on a flight. Florida is almost like 500 miles itself, like 450. So if they're not even going to Florida's worth of distance, maybe just open up your scheduling a little bit if you're Kentucky. Next up, we have FAU. This is an interesting one here. Following the Deion Sanders method, Deion Sanders to Colorado method, Ray Lewis has been a bit of a sneaky emergence here as a candidate to be the next head coach at FAU. Obviously, there's dueling stories that have come up since I put this on the card. The school is saying, he's not, but inside sources are saying, yeah, he's definitely one of the candidates, even though he might not be the top one, but he's definitely in contention. So maybe FAU is trying to, hide it because nothing is official yet. But I want to know you guys' thoughts about bringing in Ray Lewis here as a head coach. Is that good or bad for FAU? You think he'd be successful, Andy?
I mean, obviously he's Ray Lewis. He's a Hall of Fame football player. He'll forget more about football than most of us will ever know, but he's never coached before. He's never been a head coach. He lives 5 minutes from the FAU campus and really wants the job. Well, fuck, I live 10 minutes from the Illinois campus and I'd love to fucking be the head coach of Illinois. Like it's not the same. Like, I don't like how Adam Schefter said the Deion Sanders model. Yes, Deion's a Hall of Fame football player, but he has coached. He started at the high school level. He went and he turned Jackson State into one of the best FCS programs after they were not good for a long time. And now we've seen what he's done with Colorado. Through all of the, the shit talk and everything last year, the 4 wins, he's got them in position to make the college football playoff. So you have to tip your cap to what he's done. From what I've read, yeah, it's conflicting reports. He is going to apply for the job, but from what I've read, he's not a serious candidate. And Charlie Weiss Jr. is the front runner. So I don't know.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening. Fun local story for them, I guess. But yeah, like Andy said, he needs a little more experience. There are, conflicting reports out there. Charlie Weiss Jr., he's done a great job as the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss this season. Look, they're in college football playoff contention. They've defeated Georgia. I think Weiss Jr. has a stronger resume, and I think he's the more qualified candidate right now for this current position. So I think he deserves the opportunity for the FAU job. As far as the Deion model goes, yeah, Deion and Ray, they're on 2 completely different paths here. Deion has the experience. If he wants the FSU job, he should definitely get it. If he wants to go to the NFL, that's another story. I don't think he will. But, Ray Lewis, very unlikely. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, for me, the lack of experience is the one. I think this would be great recruiting wise. Obviously, he didn't go to FAU. He was with the Canes, but very similar area. So he's got the connects. If you're, a linebacker or even just anyone on a defense, you would want to play for Ray Lewis. But I think maybe this should have been something that started as an approach to try and get a DC job somewhere for a few years, because that's kind
even
of
a linebacker coach job.
Right. That was kind of, I mean, like you said, calling it the Deion model is kind of, disingenuous. But what Deion did was also bring in, some of those famous guys to be a part of that squad. Maybe they could have gone for someone else, and then Ray Lewis under him as, like Andy said, a linebacker coach or something else on the defense. Then moving into our last topic here, we have UNLV. Just a fun one here. A UNLV fan went viral for posting a picture of his receipt from the VIP box. The food price is, they got 1 pizza and 1 tray of chicken tenders. It cost them $653. So, Andy, I guess my question here is, what is the level of insanity here? And looking at that picture of the food, what would you have maybe paid for that spread?
First of all, this is fucking highway robbery. I get that it's Vegas, and I know stadium prices are insane, but imagine what these people already paid for the luxury booth, and this is a fucking slap in the face. Look at this. If you look at the picture, I'll give them somewhat of a pass on the tenders, because that is a pretty fucking big-ass, that's a bowl of chicken tenders. So, excuse me, I apologize. That is a very, very big bowl of chicken tenders, but it was like $190 for that. And looks like they got one big ramekin of barbecue sauce. The pizza, fellas, that looks like a pizza you can go get at Sam's Club or Costco for fucking $9.99.
Yeah.
And it was $300. So I'm paying no more than $100 for these two things together. And that's even high. That's high because the pizza, I'm not valuing that much, but it is a fucking good amount of chicken tenders. I'll give them that. $190 worth? No, sir.
All right, Tom, what are your thoughts here? Level of insanity, and then also what you would pay if this had been you.
This is hard to believe. I'm selling this because of the split screen. Like, is this real? Like, there's a split screen between the receipt and the food. So do we know for sure that this is real? That's my question. Like, why is it on a split screen? It's not together. So I think this is a bunch of bogus here. I'm not buying this.
I think it is confirmed real because the UNLV official football account was basically making fun of this kid for complaining about the price. Today they posted like a follow-up video at the pizza chain that made that pizza, which I guess is like kind of the go-to on campus. But yeah, it is real, I believe, based on what we've been hearing.
Dude, it's fucking burnt.
Well, if it is real, yeah, like 60, $70. I'm going lower than Andy here. I'm cheap.
That's totally fair.
Look, yeah, the chicken tenders bucket, the pizza, come on, 20, 25. Okay, it's Nevada. Let's go with 40 for the pizza. Let's just say
100%. Yeah, you're not getting out of fucking Vegas.
Let's go 40 for the pizza, and then if
pizza.
to support Andy's argument, maybe 40, 50 for the chicken tenders. If that's what it should not be more than 100. That is ludicrous. And even what we're talking about, that's crazy. Still expensive. Our parents and our grandparents bought that shit for under $20. So
I inflated it just because anytime you go to a stadium, it's going to be expensive anyways.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. For me, I mean, the entire thing is ridiculous. I finally got a picture of the tweet up on the screen here for everyone to look at. But yeah, the prices are just. I know you start off already. It's in a college football stadium, and then on top of that, you're in Las Vegas. So you've got like the little double inflation there, plus economic inflation that we've had the past few years. But $653 is just absolutely insane here. I would say if that is like the best pizza place, on the UNLV campus or around campus, I don't know where it's located, but the fans seem to think that's the go-to place. If that's true, yeah, I think $50 for the pizza, I would agree. Maybe 75 if you add all those markups and I mean that's like already just pushing it. And then
pizza better transport me to Italy for that price.
I know. I'm trying to give them a little bit of justification. That still doesn't get anywhere close to 653. And then yeah, the chicken tenders, it is pretty good, which I don't understand. The chicken tenders was like half the price of the pizza, and I would rather have, 2 of those bowls of chicken tenders than that $400 pizza. So,
correct.
Yeah, chicken tenders, I would go, maybe another 50 tops. So, this is about 6 times too expensive here for this.
Unbelievable.
And that'll bring us into our weekly parlay party segment. The move here is you got to pick 3, and you got to have a minimum plus 1,000 payout. We've been on a bit of a cold streak across the board here. Andy, start us out with your Week 13 parlay picks here.
Yeah, I'm going 4 picks again this week, plus 1086. I have been absolutely awful with these this year, so we will see what happens. But this week, I am going Big Nude Saturday, starting it off at 11 a.m. Central Time, over 52.5 Indiana at Ohio State. I like a lot of points to be scored in this game, 2 very high-powered offenses. I also really like Indiana in the game in general. I will go Notre Dame minus 13.5. I made the mistake of betting against Notre Dame when they played Navy. I respect the troops. Do not get me wrong, but I will not be doing that again. I bought a point to get it down to 13.5. I will take Alabama minus 13.5 at Oklahoma. I know they're going to Oklahoma, Norman. Typically a tough place to play, but Oklahoma is not a tough team to play right now. I think Alabama easily 14 points better than the Sooners. And then finally, another SEC team on the road, another road favorite, Texas A&M minus 2.5 going to Auburn. I know, they're on the road. Auburn sucks. I will always take the opportunity to bet against Auburn, especially when Hugh Freeze is the head coach. So plus 1086, $20 to win 217.39.
All right, I love it because a lot of these are also kind of on mine as well. So a little bit of parallel thinking there. Tom, run us through your Week 13 parlay here.
Yeah, so similar to Andy, I like Indiana to cover the points this week. For this parlay, I took plus 14.5 at minus 164. I don't think there's that big of a gap between the two teams. And any given Saturday, boys, we'll find out more in shots and chasers. Next up, Illinois money line. They're at Rutgers, but get this, and Andy, you'll appreciate this. Rutgers has lost 13 of their last 14 home games in the month of November. That is not a good ratio at all. They are 1-13 at home over their last 14 November games, minus 111. Next up, Minnesota Golden Gophers to cover plus 14.5 against Penn State, minus 156. I like that a lot. I also don't love the quarterback play of Penn State. And similar to Andy here, going with Alabama on the road, spread minus 13.5 at Oklahoma that clocks in at minus 118. I like the way Bama has played better the last few weeks. Fifth leg here, Vanderbilt to cover plus 10.5. Vanderbilt's had that they've had that season, boys, and they're at LSU. LSU's in turmoil right now. Hard to pick Vanderbilt to win that game, but I think they cover a 10.5 point spread. Clocks in at minus 162. Finally, just because I'm crazy, Bowling Green minus 6.5 against Ball State. Bowling Green has historically owned Ball State. That clocks in at minus 200. Cap it off with some Maction. See what I did there? Plus 21.50, $20 for 430.11.
I love it. I have no research on either Bowling Green or Ball State, so I mean, you're going to have to tell us going into Saturday how that's looking, because that's a bold one to throw on the card there. Yeah, for me, I got a 5-teamer and a lot of overlap with Andy, but I did it a little bit differently. First up, I have Ole Miss minus 6 at Florida. Playing very scared this week. Like I said, we've been very cold, trying to get another win on the board, so I bought that down to minus 6. Florida had a really good win over LSU, but Ole Miss is right there at the precipice of maybe missing the playoffs, so they can't afford a loss. They're already down at number 9. They need to perform and not just get a win, but put some points on the board and make the committee say, hey, maybe they deserve to be in those higher slots that'll get the home games. Next up, we have Syracuse minus 9.5. I took them straight up as the underdog last week. They're taking on UConn. Good win last week. This is minus 130. I think I maybe bought like half a point here. UConn actually having not a bad season, 7-3, but their opponents this year, because they are now an independent, have been all really, really bad schools here. So I think Syracuse should have no problem there. Next up, Michigan minus 6 versus Northwestern. I bought a lot of points here because Michigan's QB situation is very, very suspect. But they had a good game last week. Northwestern not super great this year. I mean, pretty common for them, honestly. Notre Dame minus 13 versus Army. That's minus 131. I think I bought a point here, I believe. At least I look at mine on DraftKings. The boys have their own betting apps, so a little bit of difference you'll see on these cards. But I bought about a point here for Notre Dame. I think they'll probably win this game by like 20. I don't think it'd be a problem for them. And then last up, I have Texas A&M at Auburn. I'm taking them money line to beat Auburn on the road. Like Andy said, Auburn just a really bad team. Texas A&M trending upwards, so that is plus 10.99, $10 to win, 119.93. Just got myself over the edge there with that one. And that'll bring us into our last segment. As always, it is the shots and chasers. Got a few good games here this week, including Tom's Notre Dame. First up, we have number 2 Ohio State taking on number 5 Indiana. This is a huge one here for the Big Ten. Lots of conference championship implications here between these two teams, both top 5. Andy, who do you like to win this game?
Yeah, so I mean, the story has been, all week is, Indiana hasn't played anybody. Oh, what would Indiana look like in an SEC schedule? Well, Hoosier Nation, here's your opportunity to shut everybody up and beat the number 2 team in the nation on the road. And God damn it, I think they're going to do it. Kurt Signetti says, Google me, I win. They certainly have done that this year. Their point differential, their win margin is larger than Alabama in 2022 and Georgia in 2020. So pretty solid numbers that we are looking at here. They're 460 total yards of offense per game. OSU right behind them at 458. I think we have an absolute shootout coming on our hands here. I like Indiana to win the game, fellas.
Yeah, I agree. This will definitely be a fun one with these two offenses. Tom, who do you like here in this game?
Yeah, look, we look at the historical numbers. Indiana all-time against Ohio State, 12-80-5. But Kurt Signetti is safely the Big Ten Coach of the Year. The winner of this more likely plays Oregon in the Big Ten championship. For the Hoosiers, they're averaging 44 points per game, led by QB Curtis Rourke. Great story coming from Ohio. 21 touchdowns, 4 picks. Excellent completion percentage. He's got 2 solid running backs to control the line of scrimmage, and Justice Ellison and Tyson Lawton, each with 9 scores apiece. I look at Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper as complementary pieces in the passing game together. There's no bona fide number one, in my personal opinion, even though the stats will tell you otherwise. And defensively, they have some dogs. Mikhail Kamara, 9.5 sacks. I like what he brings to the table. Amari Farrell with 4 picks. D'Angelo Pons is no slouch either. So when you're going up against Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, those 2 guys have to show up. Ohio State's one loss this year was on the road against Oregon by 1 point. Will Howard, he's been good. He had the one flaw in that Oregon game. 24 touchdowns through the air, 6 rushing. Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, that 1-2 punch, I think, offsets Ellison and Lawton right there. You're looking at Ohio State to move that line of scrimmage and keep Indiana backpedaling defensively. I think this game will be won in the trenches. We know what Smith and Egbuka could do, but I think Indiana will be able to contain both of those wide receivers. They won't be able to stop them, but don't expect either Jeremiah Smith or Emeka Egbuka to surpass the 100-yard mark in this game, despite their great totals. Smith with 9 scores, Egbuka with 8. Carnell Tate, you might see more, or across the middle of the field in the slot. Defensively, the Buckeyes present some challenges too. Tua Malou off the edge, Jack Sawyer. I like their secondary too, Denzel Burke. There's a lot of pieces that coincide here. When in doubt, when it comes to the Big Ten, I usually take the home team. And look, I really want to pick Indiana in this game. If they were home, I would. But in this case, Ohio State is, and I just think their weapons offset. And I hate Ryan Day. I do. But Ohio State wins this game.
He does, folks. That is definitely not a lie. Yeah, I'm begrudgingly also going to take the Buckeyes here, but I do think I agree with Andy. I agree with Andy that this one probably will be a really fun shootout here. So it really could go either way. But yeah, I mean, historically, the Buckeyes have beaten the Hoosiers 29 straight times. So they do have their number, and this is in the shoe. So yeah, this Indiana team is very, very good, but this is, one of the toughest environments in all of college football to walk into. So I think it's going to be rough. Maybe they start slow. And it's not like they're going up against a slow opponent that where they can sort of weather that storm, and the score is maybe still within like a score only. So listen, Ohio State, best scoring defense in college football. It's not all offense for them. Indiana's going to try and counter that with their offense, which is the second best scoring offense in the nation. So it's going to be a really big battle. The Hoosiers' offense, one of the most explosive in the nation. They've scored 30 plus points in 9 of their 10 games this season. Only Oregon and Miami have done that besides the Hoosiers. So they're right up there with the best of them as far as offenses goes. Buckeyes have an offense of their own, though. I know we probably already ran through all these names, but it truly is like a clown car. You open the door, and these weapons just keep coming and coming and coming out the door, and you're wondering if you're the defense when it's going to end. Egbuka, Tom already gave us the touchdowns, but Egbuka, 612 yards. True freshman Jeremiah Smith, he's got 865 yards. TD catch in all but 2 games. So, Egbuka is maybe the name people go to because he's the veteran, but Smith as a true freshman has been really, really good and very productive on a very consistent scale. And then, in the backfield, you got Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins, probably the best running back duo in the nation. I don't know how you stop all these guys. My one concern with Ohio State is the O-line. That's the big story for me. They're suffering so heavily from injuries, and they just lost starting center Seth McLaughlin on Tuesday. He tore his Achilles. That adds to the injuries of left tackle Josh Simmons. He's out for the season. And then his replacement, Zen Mikulski, who replaced him after that injury in the Oregon game, got hurt the very next game against Nebraska. He's also out for the season. So they've had to shift basically their entire offensive line into what is not their favorite position. So it could be very chaotic, especially if Indiana, can rush, put on that pressure, and get to Will Howard, who, not the best quarterback. He's good, but with an offensive line that's got that many holes, it'll be interesting to watch. But I am unfortunately going to have to take Ohio State here. Moving into the noon chaser, a little bit of an interesting one here. We have Jacksonville State. That is the Jacksonville in Alabama, not Florida, taking on Sam Houston here. This one will be on CBS Sports Network. Andy, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, this is a matchup of 2 really, really good teams in the CUSA. Sam Houston is in their second year as an FBS program, and they are 8-2. I think they won maybe 1 or 2 games last year So a hell of a transformation for Sam Houston this year. They have to go on the road. Jacksonville State is the number 1 team in the CUSA, and their offense is fun to watch, fellas. 465 yards of total offense per game. They do a lot of it on the ground with 258, and they 258 on the ground. So they are fun to watch. Defensively, get a little bit worried. They're 217th in the country, giving up over 420 yards per game. So points. I'm going to give Jacksonville State the slight edge here because they are the home team, and I think they win the game.
All right, Tom.
And they're also the better offense. I mean, you got to love Conference USA action. They're 6-0 in Conference USA. Look, the Cox have won 7 straight since starting the year 0-3. I believe they're 7-3 now. They average 258 rushing yards on the ground. Trey Stewart is a beast, over 1,200 yards, 19 scores. Tyler Huff is serviceable. He gets the job done. He's a dual threat, 11 touchdown passes, 10 touchdown rushes, and over 900 rushing yards. So if you're Sam Houston, you know what the game plan is. You got to stop the run. The question is, can they do it? I'm not so certain about that. Their quarterback, Hunter Watson, returned last week against, I forget who it was, because they're irrelevant. They did not look great. Hunter Watson, 7 picks on the season. He relies on his running backs, Jay Ducker and DJ McKinney. If they're going to win this game, they got to keep JV State's offense off the field. They're favored by 6 for a reason. Jacksonville State is, and that's why I'm going to pick them in this one. I think they have the better, well-rounded offense, and they're at home cooking.
I love it. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to both of these programs in general. We throw mostly P4 games on the board here, or like ranked G5, but these are 2 programs that are very new to the FBS. And Sam Houston became just the 4th consecutive program in the NCAA to make the transition up from the lower tiers and become bowl eligible within their first 2 seasons in the FBS. So we always hear about the FCS playoffs, all these lower tier teams, and could they survive in FBS? Sometimes all it takes is a little love and the FBS title next to your name there to get some recruits. But they're all doing very well, and obviously Jacksonville State was another one of those teams that hit that milestone. They did it last year alongside James Madison in the same year and Liberty in 2018. So shout out to these programs that have made the jump and been successful. As far as the game goes, the Bearcats have won 11 of their last 14 games after starting their foray into the FBS college football system at 0-8. As Andy said, they did win, I think, 2 or 3 games there at the end, but a bit of a slow start for them, a bit of an adjustment period. But yeah, the Cats, they've won games against FIU. They beat LA Tech, that's Louisiana, not Los Angeles. And that's despite scoring just 19 points in those 2 games. So as was mentioned earlier, they do not have the best offense, but to win those games with only 19 combined points, that means you need a defense that can also do its job and allow less than 19 points to get those 2 wins. So defense has held up, but I think Jacksonville State is going to be too much for them. They put points on the board, 41.7 points per game at home, so that is important. Even on the road, I think they're averaging 35 points per game, but especially at home, they're showing the fans what they can do. They're on a 7-game winning streak and are undefeated in conference play. So they can produce in the pass game, they can produce in the run game, but they especially flourish in that running game under Trey Stewart. He has 19 rushing touchdowns to lead the team. That's good for almost 2 per game. So I'm going to take the better offense here in Jacksonville State. Also sticking with the home team. Moving into the midday slash, we have Minnesota taking on number 4 Penn State. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, I think it's a big test here for Minnesota. They are at home, so they're going to get a little boost there. Penn State coming in at 9-1, trying to boost their resume in the for the college football playoff as much as possible as well. Obviously, Minnesota is not a team that jumps off the page, but they are 6-4. They're a bowl eligible team and a solid team in the Big Ten. I don't know if they're going to have enough here to overcome Penn State. I think Penn State's defense is just too good. They're only allowing 98.5 rush yards per game and only 13 points allowed. So give me the Nittany Lions here. I think they're just going to be too much for the Badgers.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, look, Minnesota has won the last 2 matchups at home in this series. They've also won 4 out of their last 5. Now, that one loss, not a great loss, at Rutgers last week, but they're back at home this week. They're 11.5-point underdogs. Max Brosmer has been a serviceable player this year. Darius Taylor, 9 touchdowns on the ground, also has 45 catches as a running back. And I like their weapons in Daniel Jackson and Elijah Spencer. Cody Lindenberg will be spying Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Those linebackers have a tough job at that second level. Can they clog the A and B gaps? Because if you can enforce your pressure on 3rd and long on Drew Aller, highlighted by Ja Joyner, Jack Henderson, and Anthony Smith. Those 3 Golden Gophers can rush the quarterback. And they have a solid secondary too. I mean, Justin Wally, Ethan Robinson, and Coy Perrick with several interceptions. Perrick has 5. So it'll be interesting to see if Drew Aller can handle that pressure. I think the key for Minnesota is, again, to stop the run, get Penn State in 3rd and long, make Drew Aller beat you. Because I'll be quite frank, I don't know if he can. His top weapon on offense is Tyler Warren. Shocker that he's a tight end. 5 touchdown receptions over 800 yards. Brian, you wonder why I put Bowling Green on my card before. They have in my opinion, the second best tight end in the nation this year, and Harold Fenton Jr. The best tight end in the nation is on Penn State in Tyler Warren. 67 receptions over 800 yards, 5 scores, and 4 rushing touchdowns. He is a solid player, but their wide receiver contribution is a bit lackluster because of the quarterback play mainly. Defensively, Abdul Carr is a problem, right? If you get to Max Brosmer's blind side, that's a huge problem. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about Minnesota's offensive line, but what I do know is that they've been doing a better job at keeping Max Brosmer upright. So contain Abdul Carter. Don't throw the ball in the direction of Jalen Reed, and I think they have a chance to keep this close. In fact, I think they win.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, listen, PJ Fleck is absolutely no stranger, to big games and to facing a top 5 Penn State team, as he was, the coach of the Gophers when they last beat the undefeated, at least at the time of the game, Nittany Lions 31-28 in 2019. Minnesota's defense, they forced 20 turnovers. That's tied with Iowa, who is a turnover specialist. If we're being honest, that's all they're known for the lead in the Big Ten. Yeah, this is on the card because I think this game is ripe for a potential upset here. Minnesota, not bad at all. And Penn State, on the other hand, is a team that I haven't fully gotten behind at this point. I just still don't fully believe in them. But Minnesota's got a coach in Fleck. He's got the attitude, the calmness, and the game plan to pull off an upset like this. He's proven that he can do it, as I just said. He did it a few years ago. Franklin, on the other hand, he's been known to put together some what we'll say are questionable game plans that have led to some very surprising losses for the Nittany Lions, and that has cost them in previous seasons. And I can easily see that this is the type of game where that would happen again. Additionally, you've got a QB in Drew Aller, who I also still don't fully trust. Aside from last week's Purdue game, where he did pretty well, but again, they're the worst team in the Big Ten, so I don't know how much weight you're putting behind that performance. Besides that game, in the 6 previous games, he's thrown for more than 1 touchdown just 1 time. So the production is just not coming from Aller. I don't really trust him. And the game that I just spoke of, the one game where he had more than 1 touchdown, he did throw 2. So, stand back, everybody. But he also threw 3 interceptions in that same game. The Gophers have 16 interceptions themselves. That is only 1 short of the national lead. And my player to watch here, Tommy, you said you didn't know much about Minnesota State's offensive line. Left tackle, Ariante Ursery. He's 6'6", 330 pounds. And Penn State, the pregame interviews, shining things to say about Mr. Ursery. They think he's a potential first-round pick. Absolutely huge. And they're saying this is basically going to be the baseline for the cream of the crop for their defensive line to face this season. So it'll be interesting to see how he can do, especially against Penn State's Abdul Carter, who he will likely be matched up on. He has 17.5 tackles for loss. That is second in all of college football and 8 sacks to go with it. So that's your matchup to watch there, at least for me. But I think I'm going to go with the upset as well here. I just don't trust Penn State at all, and I can't go against my own word there. So I'll take the Golden Gophers. Next up, in our chaser slot for midday, we have number 21, Arizona State, taking on number 14, BYU. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, this is a tough one. BYU kind of reeling after that loss against Kansas. 2 weeks ago they struggled and they probably should have lost to Utah. And then they did not, show up this past week. Arizona State's feeling really, really good about themselves coming to this game at 8-2. And this is a college football playoff elimination game almost for both of these teams. ASU's been really good offensively, and so has BYU with Retzloff under center. Both teams are averaging just over 30 points a game. I feel like we're going to see some fireworks. Arizona State at home, They have more momentum at this point, so I am going to give it to the Sun Devils.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because right now BYU, Colorado are 6-1 apiece, and then Arizona State and Iowa State are both 5-2. So yeah, the winner of this game likely advances to the Big 12 title game to play. I would imagine Colorado at this point in time. Um, Look, Coach Dillingham, he's revitalized this program, boys. He's done a really good job. They have 2 ranked wins this season. Again, Utah was ranked at the time. They're not ranked anymore. They're not good. They're below 500. Then there's Kansas State, who was ranked for a pretty long time. Sam Levitt's been solid. He doesn't turn the ball over. He does his job. I like what he does at the QB position. But Cam Scatabo is the scat back. I mean, he's good, fellas. He's going to play on Sundays eventually. He's really, really good. 11 scores on the ground, 2 through the air, 448 receiving yards, over 1,000 on the ground. He's solid. I love Jordan Tyson, their young wide receiver. 9 touchdowns, over 800 yards on the year. And yeah, they have a good pass rusher too in Clayton Smith. I think has potential to get to Retzlaff in this game. And BYU has sort of had a softer schedule with Arizona and Utah not being good this year. Look, they're coming off that 17-13 loss at Kansas. Retzlaff did not look great. They don't have too many weapons on offense. And the one saving grace for BYU that will keep them in this game is their defense because they cause turnovers, 22 of them to be exact. They have ballers back there, Jack Kelly, Isaiah Klasker, Crew Wakely, Jacob Robinson, Tanner Wall. Like, these guys are good. They're really, really good players. They have the better defensive team the Cougars do. But overall, Arizona State has the better team right now. They're the hotter team, and I'm going to pick them here at home.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, obviously because of the implications, but also preseason, both of these teams were picked to finish in the bottom 4 of the Big 12. And now here they are fighting for a shot to play in not only the Big 12 title game, but perhaps even, sneak into the college football playoff there. Yeah, obviously the player to watch here is Sun Devils star running back Cam Scatabo. He returned from injury last week, only 73 yards. I think it was like 2.9 yards per touch. But listen, it's first game back from injury. They're probably just trying to get him settled in. I expect him to absolutely go off. Regardless, it's good news for Arizona State and their offense that he is back. He's the only player in college football with more than 1,000 yards rushing and 300 yards receiving, so he can do it both ways for you. He's gone for 150 plus rushing yards 4 times already this season, and importantly, he holds onto the ball. He's only lost 1 fumble this season, so he's been very, very reliable in that sense. The Cougars, the only thing that really excites me these last few weeks is that they give up just 176 pass yards per game. And Tom, you said they do have 22 turnovers, but 17 of those are interceptions. That is tied for the most in FBS. But what they need to be worried about mostly is Scatabo. So I don't think Arizona State is going to be too worried about that because, again, they're going to be feeding the ball to Scatabo on the ground. BYU needs to make sure that the run defense is what they have dialed in. Like you said, BYU was a little shaky last week, and Retzlaff has honestly been shaky for the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but they are trending downwards, and I think I'm going to go with the Sun Devils here. That'll move us into our night games, and we have Tom's Notre Dame sitting at number 6, taking on number 19, Army. It is your team, so we will start with you on this one, Tom. Run us through this game.
Yeah, so this will be played at the Bronx in Yankee Stadium, the new Yankee Stadium. Not the biggest fan of the Shamrock Series game being played here, but it is what it is. It's history. You got to live it up. A lot of New York Notre Dame fans. The Black Knights are a problem. They average 335 rushing yards on the game, and it starts with their QB, Bryson Daly. He has over 1,000 rushing yards and 21 scores from the quarterback position this season. They don't ask him to pass much, but he's not too shabby when he does. Guys, he's been sacked once the entire season. Kanye Udo is very, very good on the ground. Noah Short is another solid weapon for them. They don't throw the ball much, but Casey Reynolds is a threat to get down the field. You look at his numbers, 11 catches for 317 yards. The average receiver, when you get 11 catches, you're probably going to have about 100 yards. So, yeah, that's very, very impressive that he's tripled that number. The Black Knights, they only have 20 sacks, but they cause turnovers defensively. Max DiDomenico is a problem. Casey Larkin, Jaden Mays, Justin Weaver all have potential to make plays in this game against the Notre Dame receiving corps. The Notre Dame receiving corps is very underrated. Their stats don't pop, but that's because their running game is phenomenal, starting with Riley Leonard. 12 touchdown passes on the year, but 13 rushing. He's really grown on me throughout the course of this season. I wasn't a fan of taking a QB from Duke, because my pro team also drafted a QB from Duke 6 years ago, who's been on national headlines this week. But look, Riley Leonard, you have to consider this too. He is protected by one of the best offensive lines in the nation. And boys, let me remind you something. 3 of our 5 starters to start the season are gone. Like they're out. They're injured. We have 3 backups playing, and they're all quality starters on most college football teams. Antoine Knapp has been exceptional at left tackle. Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler have stepped up and filled in nicely on the interior. They keep Leonard's jersey crisp, clean. Jeremiah Love is a problem on the ground between the tackles. 12 scores for him. I'm really looking for him to have a great game. Mitchell Evans is getting more involved in the offense, boys. He scored a touchdown 2 weeks in a row now. And then defensively, Howard Cross III is questionable. That could be a problem. Expect Donovan Heinisch to fill in if Cross III does not play. Riley Mills, the 5th-year senior, 6 sacks. He's a problem in the interior. Army better account for him. If you're going to establish the line of scrimmage, good luck. Jack Kaiser and Drake Bowen will be battle-tested at the linebacker spot in this game. And I think if you want to stop Army and Bryson Daly, you're looking at safeties Xavier Watts and Adon Schuler to play up in the box, similar to what they did against Navy. The last time Notre Dame played a team like this was 3 to 4 weeks ago, and they blew them out. So they are battle-tested to playing teams like this because of what they did to Navy. Xavier Watts is a phenomenal safety, boys. 4 picks on the season, so you don't want to test Notre Dame deep because their other safety has 3 picks. The Irish win, and they cover.
All right, Andy, I don't know if we're going to be able to put a candle to that on the Notre Dame coverage, but let me know what you got for this game.
Yeah, Notre Dame wins by 2 touchdowns. Hopefully, their run defense versus Army is going to be, the matchup to watch for me. So as long as they can stop the run, I'll be curious to see how they've prepared for, Army's unique offense. But yeah, I think the Irish have it in them. I think they win the game.
Yeah, the interesting one for me here, I guess, is the history. No military school has started 10-0, which Army is now trying to attain since 1985's Air Force. So does Notre Dame hate the troops? Are they gonna keep that record running? I don't know, but no. On serious terms here, listen, Notre Dame has just been really, really good since that loss. They've outscored opponents 252 points during that 8-game win streak. That's the best scoring differential in all of college football. Army, they're not bad. They've only lost 2 fumbles this season. Obviously, the run game is where they're focused. But those 2 fumbles leads the nation in ball security. Turnovers is one of the big things I'd love to look at. And I think they're going to be in trouble. Didn't you guys force like 6 turnovers from Navy, who runs that similar offense? Yeah, so I'll be a little worried for Army. I don't think they're going to keep that turnover number at 2 after this game, but we'll see. Yeah, Notre Dame, on the other hand, they top the nation with 25 turnovers gained. So, like I said, I'll be looking for that, and I think they probably pop at least 2 during this game. Obviously, the one thing Notre Dame needs to watch is containing Army's QB Bryson Daly if they want to control this game Saturday. He's rushed for 21 touchdowns this season, lots of production from him. That's tied for 2nd in the nation. Yeah, he's been the standout for the Black Knights. They've been really fun to watch, but I think Notre Dame, I bought them down on my card, but I think this game is going to be a blowout, if I'm being honest. So I'm taking the Irish as well. And then to round it out, we have what is essentially the Pac-12 title game here, the only Pac-12 game of the season. Oregon State taking on Washington State. Andy, who do you like here?
Yeah, Pac-2 battle. 8-2 Washington State going into Corvallis to take on the Beavers, who sit at 4-6. So the Beavers have to win out to reach a bowl game. Washington State is obviously reeling after that loss this last week on the road in New Mexico. But you look at the Cougars. They're a top 10 offensive team in yards per game and points per game. I think they're just going to have too much for the Beavers. I look for them to bounce back in a big way this weekend.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, John Mateer is a really good quarterback, and he's frustrated. They're all frustrated because they're coming off a tough loss on the road to the Lobos of New Mexico last weekend, and they want to rebound. And, I think they have the weapons to do it. I just want to quickly shout out Cooper Mathers at tight end, just 12 catches on the year, but 6 scores. Yeah, that's impressive. 50% score rate on your catches. That's not common. Ethan O'Connor is a really good defensive player for them, too. And then, yeah, Mateer's got to get the ball to Kyle Williams. 11 scores on the year. And, guys, I don't even know who's starting at quarterback for Oregon State anymore, but if it's Giovanni McCoy, he's awful. He was named the starter against Air Force. What an awful decision. If Oregon State and the Beavers have any chance in this game, they're leaning on Anthony Hankerson, 14 touchdowns. And I heard an interesting quote from their leading wide receiver, Trent Walker. His goal this year was to be the number one receiver and lead the team in receiving. He's done that, but it hasn't resulted in a whole lot of wins. And I thought you couldn't get worse than ukulele at quarterback, but they have. Wazoo.
Which is insane to think about, especially for how much we made fun of DJ there.
100%.
Yeah, Washington State, they're a bit of a surprise team this year, obviously with the way that the Pac-12 has sort of folded. No one knew what was going to happen. But yeah, Mateer has led them to a pretty good season, but they did fall to New Mexico in a bit of shocking fashion last week. And that loss has basically all but shut the door on their chances of getting one of those at-large spots for the college football playoff. Oregon State, on the other hand, they've had it pretty rough. They've lost 8 in a row now. They've lost 5 in a row now. Couldn't read my own writing there. And they just got shut out by Air Force, a team that came into that game with 2 wins. So things are not going great for the Beavs. Tom, you asked about the starting quarterback. Yeah, I don't know who it'll be either, but I don't know. It's almost as bad, if not worse, than Michigan's QB situation. Giovanni McCoy has been an absolute mess this season. He's throwing barely above a 60% completion rate, and he's got just 3 passing touchdowns to his name. Meanwhile, in that same span of games, he has thrown double the amount of interceptions. So not great there. All production is going to have to come through Anthony Hankerson, like you said, the running back for Oregon State, if they want to get any points on the board. He has seen the lion's share of the runs for the Beavs. That's 198 attempts to his name, and he's got 14 rushing touchdowns to go with it. We talk about John Mateer every time Washington State is on the card. He's accounted for 340 yards of offense per game, 26 passing touchdowns. That's good for 4th in the FBS, and he's rushed for 12 touchdowns as well, which is a Washington State single season record. So good for him. The stat of the day here is that he's the only QB in the country with 20 plus passing touchdowns and 10 plus rushing TDs. Dare I say he hits the transfer portal and gets a big payout next season with those stats. But yeah, I'm going to go Wazoo here as well to be the Pac-2 champions. And that is going to wrap up our show, wrap up the Shots and Chasers. Enjoy the Week 13 action. Thank you for joining us. Hit up the links of my boys down in the description. Tom and Andy's shows, and the links will be down there as well. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see everybody right here next week. Same time, same place for Week 14.